SBA Mismanagement of Repayment System. Hi there, I'm Trevor. I'm an expert with the Small Business Administration's COVID EIDL program. If your small business received a loan under that program during the pandemic, then today's video is for you and the survival of your small business. Not because your business may have challenges in earning revenue, staying alive, staying operating, and paying the loan. No, today's video is about how the SBA is literally making it impossible for you to pay this loan back because the Small Business Administration here in June of 2025 continues to mismanage the repayment system that caused 860,000 loans in 2024 to be sent off for collections action at the U.S. Treasury. Before I launch into my tirade on today's video about how SBA just can't get its act together with the MySBA portal repayment system, I'd like for all of you to take a quick moment and hit the thumbs up and like the video and subscribe to the video, but more to the point, help us with these free videos. If you find value in these free videos and you want to pay for these videos without money, you can go to our other channel, Simple Sense for Small Business, and please subscribe to that channel. Watch some videos so we get the watch time. We're trying to get that channel built up. And for a momentary pause in your life, you can jump to that channel, watch the videos. And I promise, by the way, you will learn something valuable for your small business on that channel. We have hundreds of videos to support you with ideas, strategies, inspiration, marketing ideas, operation fundamentals, all kinds of stuff to help you be more successful and enjoy your business as opposed to owning a job. It would be a small payment for you to make for the continuance of us coming here onto the EIDL Experts channel and giving you updates on important issues as we've done in recent videos. We've been talking a lot about the SBA's short-term payment assistance program. We did a series of videos about what does a personal guarantee mean so that we could help you not be terrified that the SBA is going to take your house away and throw you and your kids out on the street. We have done videos about reading the loan agreement. We do our best to come here on this channel, the EIDL Experts channel, to inform you, to keep you up to date, to help you manage the COVID EIDL. All we're asking you to do is go over to Simple Sense for Small Business and support that channel and help us grow that channel. Because when you do that, YouTube hears you in the algorithm, and YouTube will then share these videos and other videos on that channel with other small business owners just like you. Go ahead, type in EIDL on YouTube, and good luck trying to find anyone else who's offering this quality of advice, current advice. And if you find those channels, I would love for you to share those in our comments, because I know who the two other channels are who are, in my opinion, professional and competent, except they're not posting videos anymore about this program. And when they were, by the way, they did not respond to comments in the way that I do on these videos. They did not provide the kind of hands-on experience that I provide to you in these videos. Today, we're going to talk about mismanagement of the repayment system because we got an email this week from a client who we worked with in the early days of the pandemic. His business is located not very far from our house here in Connecticut. He's in the business of lawn tractors, lawn mowers, weed whackers, chainsaws, and we have been a customer of his. We helped him get a COVID loan during the pandemic. I believe we got him a Paycheck Protection Program loan as well. We offered that as a courtesy service to our COVID EIDL clients during the pandemic because it was illegal to charge a fee for the PPP program. In any event, he reached out to us because he had his COVID payments, EIDL payments, on Autopay. And he got a notification that he is in delinquency, and SBA essentially was calling the entire loan. Before I launch into the details of his situation and how you should not trust the SBA and some recommended strategies, I want to call your attention to our previous playlist of U.S. Treasury mess from 2024. Because at the end of 2023 and into early 2024, the SBA shipped off 860,000 COVID loans to the U.S. Treasury for collections. The situation was terrible. People similar to our local client here in Connecticut recently found they either could not set up an access on the portal at all. People told us they were sending in checks, that SBA was not cashing the checks. They would call and SBA said, I don't know what you're talking about. We never received a check. I don't know why you can't create a portal. Oops. Oh, well, I guess you can't create a profile. That's a true story. I mean, I solved that problem for that client. It took me 90 days or so of consulting and bombastic dedication and perseverance and tenacity with the SBA, but I solved the problem. Essentially, what SBA did with his file is they were tracking his file with the Federal Employer Identification Number, the EIN, as opposed to his Social Security number. Yeah, and it took me, a guy who does not work for the SBA, to figure that out. This is why today's video is about mismanagement of the repayment system by the SBA, because they cannot get it right. And Loeffler, in her first day in office, her mission statement to the SBA was, we're going to collect every penny. Well, how about if you started, instead of firing everybody, how about if you started with just looking at how screwed up the SBA's repayment system is and fixing the basic kinks in that system and fixing the functionality of that system. When I went to this client's office yesterday to discuss with him, honestly, I had to bring over a chainsaw to get a new blade put on it. But I wanted to also respond to his question about the COVID delinquency, the delinquency on his COVID loan. And I said to him, imagine if you had this kind of response from your mortgage company or the company you make your car payments to, or your credit cards. I said, do you have these kind of payments? He said, no. I said, no one does. You know why? Because those lenders know how to actually manage repayment. The SBA does not. 23, 24, 860,000 loans shipped off to collections. And the more we dug into it, the more we discovered that it was actually, in many cases, the SBA's mismanagement of the repayment system, in my opinion, that caused those loans to fall delinquent. And I thought, well, maybe the SBA will learn its lesson and fix its system, but no. Here we are in June of 2025, and these problems are still happening, as you will see in a moment when I share some YouTube comments with you about that situation. The situation was so bad that a reporter reached out to me from NBC Universal, Louis Camp. He was asking about disaster loans for Hurricane Helene, and I told him about this U.S. Treasury collections enforcement mess with the SBA, and he, diverted his story concept from hurricane disaster loans to write an article about and interview me. He interviewed Jason Tees here on YouTube. He interviewed several of our clients about the mess. And SBA's response, as always, was oblique, ambiguous, and failing to admit any fault at all in the process. And here we are in 2025, and we're seeing the same problem. There's a playlist of videos about U.S. Treasury. We also have a guidebook. If you find yourself getting a notification from SBA that you're severely delinquent or worse, and please, I hope to heaven this never happens to you, if you get a letter from U.S. Treasury that your file has been sent over, your loan has been sent over from SBA to Treasury for collections, Treasury adds a 30% penalty. Treasury wants you to repay that loan immediately in full. All the interest, all the principal, 30% penalty. And there is no offer in compromise allowable. I'm going to do another video about that when I talk about attorneys, but there are attorneys out there giving bad advice, telling people, just let the loan go to default at Treasury and then we'll negotiate offer in compromise, except the SBA does not permit offer in compromise on a COVID EIDL. And as per the U.S. Treasury's website, the Treasury's Bureau of Fiscal Services, which manages the collections of defaulted federal debt, states in their website, in the event that you're trying to negotiate or work out payments or problems, the Bureau will go back, the Treasury will contact the referring agency for guidance. In this case, the referring agency is the SBA. So if you take bad advice from an idiot lawyer who's telling you, oh, we'll just let it go to collections at Treasury, good luck with that. Because first of all, you're negotiating offer and compromise for more than the amount of the loan because of the 30% penalty, right? You get a $100,000 loan. Let's say you've got $16,000 accrued interest. That's $116,000, which means 30% penalty. Add another $32,000 to that. So your 116 went to 140, what, 148, 149,000, 139,000, whatever it is. I'm not doing math in front of you. Hashtag math is fun, but not right now because I'm too pissed off. I'm too angry about this mess. I'm too angry about this mess with the SBA. I'm too annoyed with the SBA. And I'm too annoyed with attorneys who give people bad advice. We're going to do a video about attorneys. And in our EIDL Resource Hub, we have 2 different chapters where we discuss how to locate an attorney to assist you with your COVID EIDL. If you need assistance with your COVID EIDL, click on the link in the description. But you can also, if you're interested, again, I hope you don't get to that point where you are finding yourself in collections at Treasury or in jeopardy as our lawnmower repair sales client is. If you find yourself in jeopardy with the file going delinquent, you may consider our guidebook with advice on strategies that you can undertake to maybe save the loan. The story of our client who owns this lawn equipment business, I went over there yesterday. I had him log into the My SBA portal so I could review the payment history and the messages. And what did I see? But there have been multiple delinquency notices in the 2.5 years he's been making payments. He did start out in 2022 with an account at pay.gov and Capital Access Finance System, which is the original payment methodology to make online payments to the SBA COVID EIDL program. But then later the SBA launched the My SBA portal. And of course the transport of files from the pay.gov system over to My SBA was a nightmare, if not the least because the SBA failed to properly communicate that to people. Oh, we're not with pay.gov anymore. Now you've got to create a profile of My SBA. And in the case of this client, when I sat in front of his computer and I looked at the history, the payment history, and the messages, I can see multiple delinquency notices going all the way back to 2023. In the payment history, I can see where he's paying double payments to catch up because he's getting delinquency notices, which again, I asked, and let me be clear, this is not a business owner who's a deadbeat. This is a guy who pays his bills. I know because he was actually a client of ours with our little financing practice before COVID happened. And we were working on trying to finance his business before COVID shut us down. And I've run his credit report. This is a business owner who pays his bills. That's what I discovered also last year in 2024 with the mess of files going to the U.S. Treasury. I was speaking to honest, hardworking people who were just trying to pay the bills. It was the SBA's mismanagement of the repayment system, in my opinion, that caused these problems. And here we are, a year and a half later, and it's still happening because the SBA. You cannot trust the SBA. You cannot trust them. This is what we learned multiple times during the pandemic, but especially with the repayment system. Here, by example, some stories, and then I'm going to read some comments. A friend of ours here in town, where we live in Connecticut, we're good friends with him and his wife, and we assisted him with the COVID programs during the pandemic. When I became aware of this U.S. Treasury mess in 2024, I called him up and I said, hey, you need to watch out because this is a problem, especially if you're using recurring payments or auto payments. And he said, I don't use auto payments with the SBA. I don't trust the SBA. Our friend is a graphic designer. He's not in the finance business, but he knows enough not to trust the SBA. He makes one-time payments every month, which is our standing advice for all of you. You should not use the auto payment system. And he told me a story about how he had checked his bank account one month and how the payment that he had previously authorized as a one-time payment never came out of his account. Could you imagine your mortgage company, your car loan company, your car lease company, your credit card company not following your pre-authorized instructions for a withdrawal from your bank account to make a payment? I mean, these days, don't most of us pay our bills that way? Very few people who write checks and put them in the mail anymore. And our friend went on to tell me how he called his bank and said, hey, what's going on? I authorized a payment on let's say the 15th of the month for a payment to the Small Business Administration through the U.S. Treasury. And the bank said, I don't know what you're talking about. We never got a request. I'm looking at your file. Looking at your account, sir. Nobody from Treasury or the Small Business, there's no government agency requesting a payment of that amount of money on that date. Hold on a second. To get this straight, the SBA is demanding, under Loeffler, the new administrator, that everybody pay every penny. But the SBA can't even get its act together enough with the repayment system to follow the instructions provided by a business owner trying to repay the debt with a pre-authorized ACH withdrawal from their bank account. And the SBA doesn't even bother to go into the account and request the money on the pre-authorized date. Worse, if that happens, the SBA doesn't call you or email you or send you a text message, send you a letter in the mail telling you, hey, you missed your payment last week. What are you going to do about it? You know, like your credit card company would do. No. What the SBA does, if you're lucky, they put a message in your MySBA message portal. Your payment is delinquent. They add the payment to next month. They just consider it delinquent. That's the extent of the communications. Maybe a message in the MySBA portal, but no email, no text, no phone call, no letter in the mail, nobody knocking at the door. Hey, you missed your payment. What's going on? Likewise, if you have pre-authorized an ACH withdrawal from your bank account with the SBA, we saw this in 2024 multiple times. I've seen the bank statements that our clients provided us. I've seen their portals. I can see the payments being authorized, and then you see how it's a negative number afterwards because the payment didn't go through, because maybe the bank account had insufficient funds on that date. Insufficient funds, okay, well, again, if it was your car payment, your mortgage, your credit card, they would notify you right away. Hey, we tried to take the money out this afternoon, yesterday, day before yesterday. You know, your bank said there's not enough money. What are you going to do about it? Please make a payment immediately. I don't know. Have you ever been on the receiving end of those phone calls and text messages? Because I'll promise you, creditors are very good at getting paid if you don't pay them. They're very good at communicating. The SBA is terrible at communicating if you miss a payment. And again, their modus operandi is maybe a message appears in the messages drop down on the MySBA portal, but more than likely all the SBA is going to do is just take that payment that was insufficient funds and they don't notify you about it and they just roll it over into next month. So when you get next month's statement, assuming you all open the statements, I've seen that with many business owners, including our landscaping company, lawnmower repair servicing sales guy, who does not open all of the statements or the email messages. I know because when I looked at his messages portal on the MySBA portal yesterday on his computer, I saw lots and lots of unopened messages from SBA. You have to read your messages, folks, at the very least, because the SBA is so terrible. You cannot trust the SBA. You have to actively monitor that. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. First, I want to share a few comments that we get here on YouTube. If you have a question or a comment about this topic, please pop into the comments below. And if you could take a moment to hit the thumbs up and like this video, it would be very helpful. Tell YouTube this video has value, and YouTube will share this video with other small business owners with COVID EIDLs. First comment, they say I'm in default even though I was making payments. This is exactly what I've been just talking about. Not sure where the payments went. Now they say it went to the Treasury. I lost my business 2 years ago. This is a business owner who was making payments on a dead business. By the way, to this business owner, whoever you are, or people in this situation, please watch our other videos about bankruptcy, or consider looking at the link in the description for the services and products we offer to help you in that situation. Person goes on to say, now I'm trapped with the loan. They forgave the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program loan, and they won't help us. PPP was gone when I applied for this. It was the only option. Now I'm broke and trapped. Thanks, federal government. You mean thanks, SBA. You mean thanks, Congress, because they're not supporting the SBA or you by extension. Next comment is from the Goth Shop. I called and set up a recurring payment plan with their hardship program and went into default for missing 4 months. So frustrated as I know I set up the recurring payment plan, but it never initiated. Ugh. I mean, I know this is all anecdotal to you folks at the SBA because essentially that's kind of sort of what SBA's response was to the reporter from NBC Universal when he interviewed us and our clients last year in the article about the U.S. Treasury mess. They were essentially, they threw all the blame on all of you. But, I mean, I know it's anecdotal, but I don't know. I put some value in these comments, which is why I share them here on our channel. Next one is from Ashy, 1185. I submitted my hardship round 2 in March, followed up in April when my hardship ended and continued to make payments, and they still charged off my account to the U.S. Treasury. Making payments goes to Treasury. Ashy came back to indicate that the loan was reversed. Thank God. Now I'm going to apply for the new program. Ashley says they, meaning the SBA, they said it was a mistake. Oh, it was a mistake. I'm sorry. You have a COVID EIDL, a loan you received from the federal government, from the American taxpayer, and if you don't pay it back, we could bar you for life from ever getting help from the federal government again in the future in the form of a loan or a grant or doing business with the government. If you are a small business owner, you want to contract, become a government contractor. Those are pretty severe consequences, not to mention the whole prospect of the SBA suing you in court and getting liens against your personal assets if you're in that category, a sole proprietor or a personal guarantee for a corporate owner. Yeah, I mean, these are pretty severe consequences, and the SBA just says, oh, it was a mistake. You know what was a mistake? A mistake is you order a cheeseburger at your favorite restaurant, and you say, I'd like some extra coleslaw or extra ketchup, and they serve you, and you say, oh, I don't see the coleslaw, I don't see the extra ketchup. Oh, I'm sorry, it was a mistake. See, that's a mistake. A mistake where you're sending somebody's loan to U.S. Treasury? SBA, what the hell are you doing, man? Next. Okay, here you go. My sister in Davis, who's totally up to date on her EIDL, got an email from SBA stating that her loan was at risk of being turned over to Treasury. Now, there's a long paragraph here, but the essential element is she was fortunate to get an SBA agent on the phone. Now, this comment, I may have discussed this comment in a previous video. This is before SBA stopped having people on the phone. So this is a few months ago. And checked the record and said that she actually owed about $490 and that everything was good now. Don't know if you've seen this before. Yes, we have. It was panic time for my sis until she finally got resolution. Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully, because the SBA cannot be trusted. I learned during that whole mess in 23 and 24, on the phone in October of 2023, one of our consulting clients, he was behind a few months' payment. So, and he said bankruptcy wasn't an option. So I said, well, you know, you've got to make payments. And we called the SBA together, and he authorized the SBA representative to speak to me. So on a 3-way phone call with my client and the SBA representative, I said, how much do we need to pay this afternoon, today, to bring the loan current? And the SBA representative looked at the file and did some calculations. She said, okay, to bring the loan current, I'm going to make up some numbers here. I don't remember the exact numbers because this is nearly 2 years ago, but $14,232.12. I said, great. And I said to my client on the phone, I said, can you make that payment today? He said, absolutely. I said, okay, write down the amount, so he did. And he sent me an email with the confirmation about an hour later, after we hung up the phone, to bring his loan current, as per the guidance of the SBA representative on the phone, where she gave us the amount that he needed to be current. Because, if you are behind on your mortgage, and I will tell you, I've managed these phone calls in my mortgage career, because I was a mortgage banker for 30 years, and occasionally, thankfully, very rarely, I would get a notification that some of my clients that I'd gotten their loan were behind on a payment. And I would notify them whether I had to go to their house and knock on the door or call them up or whatever. And they'd say, well, how much of a payment do I need to make? And when that happens to you with a mortgage or a car or a credit card, they'll tell you the exact amount to the penny and the deadline. And so you make that payment, and guess what? You're current. Well, with this client, with the SBA representative, who was otherwise very helpful, gave me that number. My client wrote it down. He made the payment within an hour of the phone call, and we found out about 4 or 5 weeks later, his loan was sent to the U.S. Treasury for collections. And as more of these clients came my way in 2024, I started calculating the methodology of how SBA arrived at the delinquency. And I would start with the origination date of the loan. And this is my advice to you. If you get a delinquency notice, this was my advice to our client yesterday with the lawnmower sales and service, calculate how many months of payments should have been made, the exact amount of the payment, account for the fact that you may have had deferred interest accrued interest because you took advantage of the deferment period, the 30-month deferment period, and calculate, and then go to your bank statements. You have to be a bit of a forensic examiner here, forensic accountant, and go to the bank statements and compare how much money came out of your bank to go to the SBA, and does that match what you should have made by your calculations? Those two numbers should be identical. And I'm sorry to report, some of you will discover that the numbers don't match, because the SBA has done and continues to do a terrible job of managing the repayment system. You must actively monitor your SBA, My SBA portal. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. I want to talk about a couple more comments. Speaking of the portal, Tony Love Records goes on here in this comment. In response to our video, SBA is useless and this is why. What can you do? Tony says, I'm noticing that the history is incorrect in the portal now. That's what I mean. Tony and people in that situation, you've got to do forensic examination yourself. Look at your bank statements. Calculate from the date that you got the loan, the 30-month deferment period, when your full payments commenced. All of this, by the way, is in our U.S. Treasury guide. If you wish to purchase that, the link's in the description. You have to be actively monitoring your My SBA portal. First of all, we recommend using one-time payments. Do not use the auto payment feature, the recurring payment. Our lawnmower sales and service guy discovered that apparently there was a finite period for his automated payments. And that is a thing. One-time payment is our recommendation. Every month, like we used to do in the old days, old people like me, once a month we'd write checks to pay our gas and utility and mortgage and car payment. You'd sit at the table and you'd write your checks and balance your checkbook. Now in the electronic age, I know people don't really do that anymore, but with the SBA, you have to do that. You have got to set up a one-time payment, which means once a month, you've got to go in. So if your payment is due on the 15th, our advice, and again, this is based upon the experience of hundreds of people who contacted us last year over the U.S. Treasury mess, our advice, 10 days in advance of the due date. If you're due on the 15th, that means on the 5th of the month, make your one-time payment on that date. Once you've scheduled that payment, the next day you want to look at your bank account and make sure the payment was requested and withdrawn from your account. And then about a week after you've made the payment, go back into My SBA portal and look at your payment activity and payment history tab. Because again, with SBA, everything's more complicated than it needs to be. So you can't just find a payment history. They've got payment activity, which I have no idea what that means, by the way, and payment history. You got to look at both of those and make sure that the SBA has given you credit for the payment, because you cannot trust the SBA's repayment system. Maybe they really did take the money out of your account, but maybe they didn't credit it properly to your account, if at all. We saw that happen in 23 and 24 as well with clients. This is a nightmare, right? On a loan you're trying to repay. Many of you who are facing challenges in your business and you're just trying to get by and trying to recover from the pandemic and any other economic effects, employment issues, tariff issues, all of that, and you can't even make a payment on this loan properly because you can't trust the system to work properly for you. Do the math if you're delinquent. You've got to do the math on your own. You cannot call the SBA, although I say that you cannot call. SBA, as of March, took people off of the phones. There's nobody answering the phones at the SBA anymore. And as part of our EIDL resource hub, there's a chapter about how to communicate with the SBA. It includes templates on how to communicate with the SBA. It includes the phone menu for calling the SBA. So I had to update this, even though that chapter was complete, because the SBA has changed this phone menu several times. As of March 17th, if you press 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish, press 9 for a natural disaster. But then it takes you to the main menu for COVID EIDL, of which phone menu item number 1, if you received a delinquency notification regarding your COVID EIDL, press 1. I don't know if you can get a human being on the phone. I would think maybe this directs you to an actual human being. No, I would hope it does. I don't think it does because I haven't verified it myself, and I don't trust it because with Leffler, she's fired 43% of the staff at the SBA, and you probably get a message that says to refer to your My SBA portal because they want you to use that. If you need assistance with your COVID EIDL, click on the link in the description to find out what services and products we have available. If you want help with your business, we have another channel called Simple Sense for Small Business. Please, we get it that money might be tight. We get it that some people expect this information for free. I know many folks in our audience tend to think that we're making gazillions of dollars like Mr. Beast. We're not. If you want to pay for these free videos that we're doing here on EIDL Experts, please, right now, go to our other YouTube channel, Simple Sense for Small Business, and subscribe to that channel. And watch some of the videos. Give us some watch time. Help us to get that channel monetized. Help us to get that channel shared with other small business owners so that we can continue to come over here to this channel and give you this advice that you need, because we know there's no one else out there on YouTube right now offering this information. If you have questions, comments, please jump into the comments below. Please consider sharing this video with your attorney or accountant. And on behalf of Linda Ray, I want to thank you for tuning in. We do appreciate you watching these videos, even though I kvetch and complain occasionally about, the viability of doing this. We'll keep doing it for the time being, but only with your direct support. Thanks for doing that, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time around.